Hey Fortnite action figure fans, today we're taking a look at a trio of 4-inch solo figures from Jazzwares. We have the Explorer version of Eternal Voyager, the Zev style of Fusion, and default Chaos Agent. And if you want to see the back of these boxes real quick, I will just go ahead and flip them around there for you. This is Chaos Agent. This is Fusion Zev. I tried to combine the words there. And then finally the Eternal Voyager, which these are in the same series, so that's what you're gonna see, pretty much the same thing. All right, let's get these out of the box. So how did I decide to group these three figures together in a single video? What makes the connection between them? Well, it's pretty simple when you understand. These three are repaints. We've seen each of these figures before, released in some way with a different paint scheme, or in the case of Eternal Voyager, a different head. So quickly, I'm going to do some comparisons between the original and the new. And actually, I'm also going to point out that the Fusion figure comes with the Crystal Wings in-game wrap, and the Eternal Voyager comes with the fingerprint in-game wrap. But the weird thing is, this isn't actually a code, this is just a black bar. So I'm not sure what's going on. And anyway, but I did buy this from a store, by the way. So let's bring in the original. This is the original Eternal Voyager that we got way back in the Chapter 1 gift set. That was a Target exclusive 10 figure. Was it Target exclusive? I thought it was. Maybe it wasn't. I guess I've seen it on Amazon. But anyway, you can see there are definitely subtle differences. The new Eternal Voyager has darker legs, whereas the old one has lighter gray legs. And kind of the same over here. There's some darker paint here and there, and there's lighter paint there. So there's definitely a repaint going on, and I think the outline of green is a little bit crisper than the original one. And the original one did not come with harvesting tools, but this one comes with the cosmic cleavers, and we'll bring him a little bit closer so you can see those cosmic cleavers a little bit closer. And it's neat because they have a bit of a translucent lime green to it. And so I think for dual harvesting tools, those look pretty good. Also, you have this new head on Eternal Voyager. The mask is now open, or the visor is now open. It's pretty much the same head, just minus the visor so you can see inside. I noticed that when I tried moving the head, it's a very tight head, and I don't know if I were to keep twisting it, if it's going to twist right off, so I'm not going to twist it around all the way, but I would think the range of motion would be that you could rotate the head all the way around. Well, actually, I guess the old one is the same way. It only goes so far. So I'd forgotten about that. So I guess that is the range of motion. Otherwise, this figure has everything else going for it that the original figure did. So you can sit and do the splits and double pin knee. And yeah, apparently the new one's better. He can knock the old one down. He can beat the old one up. There's rotation at the waist and the chest cut. There's a thigh rotation, a pivot and a hinge at the ankle. If you want him to go back, this figure is not working so well for me. He can lean back that far. He's got a little bit, there you go, that far forward. And yeah, so I found the arms at the shoulders to be much more easy to work with than the original one. They ratchet, but they work pretty good. So yeah, he's got the full range of motion. We'll set him off to the side, and we'll bring in Fusion, since he actually never really left the view. He was kind of creeping back there. Let's get you standing here. And we've got the original Fusion. There we go. The original Fusion, which was a solo mode way back in 2021. I think that's when it was, like the spring of 2021. This figure had kind of man, I'm just knocking stuff. Fusion, I've always found to be a little bit difficult to stand anyway, so I'm having to stand him in kind of an odd position. Check that out. That's how I get this figure to stand. But anyway, Fusion was an odd one because back in 2021, springish to early summer, primarily he was released in the UK first, but then primarily in the US like 6 or so months later, you could find him in Cracker Barrel. And I don't know if this figure ever actually released at like a Walmart. I know recently we've been finding him at Ross stores, but it was so weird and bizarre that, you know, this was very hard. Him and Lynx were very difficult to get for quite a while because they both released in the UK first, and it was like 6 to 8 months later, we get this figure in Cracker Barrel. But here we have the new style, the Zev Fusion, and he is holding on to his Fusion Scythe, and I'm going to point out that I think that's kind of interesting. Now, the Fusion Scythe, let's scoot you over to the side here, does not have any translucent parts here whatsoever. The original Fusion Scythe that came with this guy back here, this portion was, if I remember right, a little bit translucent, just a little bit. Had some blue and black, it was mostly black, but had a little bit. This one doesn't seem to have any. And so, but anyway, I like the colors. I really do like the colors of this figure. The white and gold, I think, just look outstanding. I think it looks really good. This one has better, I'm going to say better articulation, but what I mean by that is smoother articulation. I can actually like lift up his arm painlessly. So easy, up and down. This one was a little bit tight. And then this arm is reminiscent of the first one, where you ratchet it up and it's a little bit difficult, and ratchet it back down, it's a little bit difficult. But generally, most of the articulation on this figure is actually really pretty good. He can take his head all the way around, even though he's got this thing. If you want, you can remove this, I believe. Just pop the head off, and then you can take this off and pop the head back on. So he's got rotation at the chest and the waist. Double pin knee. I'm used to saying pinless for some reason, so I keep saying that. He has a hindrance there at the waist. Can't split any more than that. Can't sit any more than that. If you want him to articulate back, he's amazing. Really, he is amazing. Forward, well, it's okay because he can lean so far back, right? So that just makes it all better. And then, of course, the thigh swivel, which is hiding up under here. And so, but I like the figure, I like the colors. This was a solo mode that we actually saw. I'm not going to say more of us saw this figure, but this figure was a little bit more visible in Walmart stores. This guy was very, well, later he became more visible at Ross stores. But anyway, there are the two different versions, or the two different styles of Fusion. And, you know, I'm always going to like this one. I love the black and I love the blue combination. I think it's really cool. But there is something really neat to be said for this white and gold. I think they both look really good. Will we get the other style of Fusion? I have absolutely no idea. But Jazzwares has the mold, so you know what? Maybe they need to crank one more Fusion out so we get all the Fusions. That would be pretty nice. All right, let's move on to Chaos Agent. Boom. This is kind of appropriate. Midas is back in Fortnite right now. Chaos and Agent and Midas have a history together. And here is the original Chaos Agent. Now, some of you might be saying, wait, what do you mean? How is this guy right here a repaint? I never saw this figure in stores. Well, you're right. You didn't. Because this is a limited edition figure, and that's not the reason you didn't see it in stores. The reason you didn't see it in stores is because this figure was found, if I remember correctly, it was France? Oh man, I'm forgetting. It was either France, Spain, or Germany. It was one of those three countries. And so technically, this figure was released to the public. Technically speaking, it was in a legitimate store in Europe. So because of that, I classify this as version 1. Now, I think if I remember correctly, this was actually supposed to be the first one out. And then this was going to come out, this would be the repaint in a later wave. But it just happened to land that this figure showed up while this figure just was delayed for an insane amount of time. I mean, this thing came out, I think, a year or so after we thought it was going to come out. So, technically, release order, this guy is first and this guy is second. This actually might be classified as an exclusive to Europe or something at this point. I don't know. But anyway, we have both figures here, and I believe that every once in a while, this figure does pop up like on eBay or Mercari. I think it does pop up every once in a great while. So it's also kind of findable out there. And I still believe we're going to find this. Maybe it's going to show up at Ross one day. Always check out Ross. What's the others? Burlington and was TJ Maxx, I think. Those are a couple stores I don't go to. DD's might have them. Anyway, enough talking about figure theory. Here we have Chaos Agent, and he comes with his Chaos Scythe, which is all black, and it looks gooey and goopy. And this figure, I find that it holds it difficultly, if that's the right word. And what I mean by that is that his fingers are so loose, and I'm not sure how to show this appropriately. His fingers are fingers. Yeah, that doesn't work. They are so pliable that when I go to slide this scythe in his hand, he's only got 2 fingers and like a thumb. They bend around and it gets a little bit more difficult to hold them. I'll set him back here. There's another interesting and important thing to point out. Actually, I'll bring him back. And that is, if you notice right here, I'm trying to figure out how to arrange this stuff. His coat opens, but it doesn't open on purpose. This actually, I'm not sure if it ripped while I was taking this out of the package or if it was already ripped in the package. This is held together. Do you see this little hole right there? Yeah, right there. I'm looking at the camera, looking at what I'm doing. There's this little hole, and that is actually supposed to connect right there. And it's such a tiny piece of plastic, a little piece of rubber, maybe glue or something. I think it's actually, because it's ripped out, there's a hole here now. Such a tiny piece that it ripped out so easily. And I'm not sure if it ripped out in the package or when I was taking the figure out. He's a little bit loose, so stand there, man. Stand, just stay. I noticed that because one of the things I was careful taking this figure out of the package because of the same thing. And it looks like this is held on much stronger with a much better piece of gluing. But anyway, if you get this figure, or if you haven't picked this figure up and you still pick it up, just be real careful about this coat. If you don't care about the coat being able to open, then do what you want to do. But if you want to not rip the coat, you just be careful taking this figure out. That would be a weak point. But I haven't seen many problems with coats because I believe this coat has been used for several other figures before. All right, now enough about the coat. He can actually do the splits quite well. He can sit quite well, even though he's got the coat that hangs down. It's really pretty good. He's got skinny enough legs. Now he bends at his double pin joint very well. He has ball joints down here, so there is a rotation up in the leg, there is a pivot at the foot, and there is hinge at the ankle. And he can go back about that far. He's got really no hindrance, so he's got some excellent range of motion. This figure did not come with a secondary head like this guy over here did, so we got the gold gooey head, but we don't have a black gooey head for this one. If you wanted, you could probably just swap this out, and if you have this figure and have that secondary head, it might be fun to put the gold head on this one just to see what it looks like. Maybe I'll do that and take some pictures later. The pipes kind of come out if you want to swap the head, so they do unpeg from his back. But I've learned that once you unpeg these things and then you move the head around, they tend to like to keep unpegging. They like to just hang out, and they go in, but they like to kind of pop out here and there. Otherwise, the articulation is pretty standard, if not kind of difficult, at least with this figure. He can go up his arms that far. Elbows up that far, almost 90 degrees, not quite. Wrist and rotation and hinge right there. He looks good. I really do like this figure. I like the black and red. I think it looks pretty slick. As much as I do like this figure here, I like white and gold. I think it's really nice, and I think it looks very classy and everything. But I do think I like the black and red just a little bit better. Alright, moving these guys off. And here's a final look at the 3 figures. I did forget to mention that Chaos Agent is figure number 209, Fusion Zev is 240, and Eternal Voyager Explorer Style is 242. They have figure numbers now, but they didn't used to. For anyone who wants to keep track of those, that's their numbers, and I did pop them up on the screen while I was reviewing them, so they were there as well. Anyway, I like these figures. I think they're pretty neat. If you find them, then I would say you're pretty lucky, because distribution for Jazzwares over the last little while has been, the last 2 years, a year and a half to 2 years at this point, has been, well, disappointing. You can't find figures in Target anymore. You generally, in most Walmarts, you can't find figures. Amazon doesn't really stock anything new. They stock a bunch of older stuff, but nothing really new. This guy showed up maybe at 2 of my Walmarts a while back, and then when maybe this wave showed up before him, I can't remember, but I don't see this guy anymore. He showed up with Skelement Oro and default Meowscles, and then they disappeared, and I would say this guy disappeared probably before all the others. He was harder to find. I figure that I'm very fortunate to have found him in store. These 2 figures showed up. They were part of the Isabel wave, and I don't remember how often. I mean, it seemed like they showed up and they were gone pretty quick as well. And this last wave, just on a side note, like, I found the last wave of figures once, and then, like, I never saw them again, the Gunner wave. And so that was the distribution, or getting stores to stock these, having them buy from Jazzwares, it seems like it's a painful situation at the moment. And I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if this is a sign of something to come, or if Jazzwares is still working on a new avenue to get us figures, because there's a lot of us out there who want to buy these things. We want to give you money, Jazzwares. And, you know, it seems like there's a lot of products that has been made and is waiting to be released, and we want to give you money. We love these figures. We think they're really neat and they're really cool. I'll do another video talking about that. I won't get into it now. But anyway, Chaos Agent, Fusion Zev, Explorer, Eternal Voyager, 3 solo figures that have been redone. You let me know in the comments, are these good repaints? Do they look good? What do you think? Do you like the originals better? I kind of gave you my opinion as we went. I like this version of Chaos Agent. I think I probably like the original Fusion sneaker here better color-wise, but I still like this one. And just because of how bright the colors on this guy has brighter colors, he's a hard one to stand. I kind of like this figure, but I prefer the original head. So these colors, the original head. What do you think? Let me know. Thank you for stopping by and watching. I will see you next time.